Hello and welcome to Picture This, a podcast from the photo archives of the Albuquerque Museum. My name is Jill Hartke, and I'm the Digital Archivist here at the museum. Today we are digging into New Mexico mining history. Dawson, New Mexico, located southwest of Raton in Colfax County, was a vibrant mining town in the early 1900s. The area of northern New Mexico and southern Colorado was an important region for coal mining companies. Immigrant miners flocked to the area. In the photo archives of the Albuquerque Museum is a small collection of photographs showing the town doctor training mine rescue workers around 1910. Here's the story behind the photographs. The Phelps Dodge Corporation had taken over the town of Dawson in 1906. There were 4 active mines and a population of over 2,000 people. The miners were mostly immigrants from Europe and Mexico. Dawson had an active baseball team, a large company store, a train depot, and a school. Dr. Frank Diver was the doctor and chief surgeon of the Dawson Hospital. Around 1910, he brought in a group of men to train them in the use of equipment for mine rescues. The safety record was good for the town of Dawson, but Dr. Diver was thorough in his training of the workers, taking them into the surgery rooms for lessons in triage, as well as taking them into the mines to get a handle on the conditions that they might face in an emergency. They trained with the latest equipment and became knowledgeable in current rescue procedures. By 1913, Dr. Diver had trained over 100 men, known as helmet men, in case of an emergency. His work was important and well respected. The training of Dr. Diver became vital on the afternoon of October 23, 1913, when coal dust ignited and an explosion rocked Stag Canyon Mine No. 2, trapping hundreds of men in the multi-level coal mine. The rescue efforts began immediately, with all miners from the remaining 3 mines in Dawson rushing to the aid of those trapped in the debris. The men began pulling rocks away from the entrance to the mine, even while more rocks settled around them. It was a race against time, as the fallen timber of the passages entombed hundreds of miners, and poisonous gas began to fill the mine. Described by the Albuquerque Morning Journal as sturdy, silent men who uncomplainingly donned their helmets and oxygen tanks and walked unfalteringly through the thousands of feet of death-lined chambers, the helmet men were rewarded by finding 22 survivors. The ever-present dangers of the rescue efforts were made clear when on the morning of October 24th, reports came that the dead had claimed the living. 2 rescuers who had traveled deep into the mine searching for survivors had suffocated. The loss of the 2 helmet men struck a new blow to the rescue efforts. New teams continued to arrive throughout the following days, taking up their helmets and oxygen tanks and working to clear the bodies. In the end, 261 miners and 2 helmet men died. The explosion of Stag Canyon Mine No. 2 is still recorded as the second deadliest mining disaster in U.S. history. Dawson, New Mexico remained a mining town for decades to come. More immigrant families arrived, and the town continued its operations. For those families who stayed after the 1913 disaster, another mining explosion 10 years later, in 1923, once again shattered the community. This time, the lives claimed were many of the sons of miners who died in that 1913 explosion. By the middle of the 20th century, mining operations in Dawson had begun to dwindle. In May of 1950, the Phelps Dodge Corporation closed the mines, and Dawson became a ghost town overnight. Today, the only thing that remains is a cemetery with its haunting rows of white iron crosses memorializing the miners and helmet men who died in the 1913 and 1923 disasters. While the loss of life was overwhelming, the tireless work of Dr. Frank Diver at the Dawson Hospital and the training he provided to 100 men helped to save lives in Dawson's mining disasters. The small photo collection was given to the photo archives by Dr. Diver's daughter so that his story and that of the Dawson helmet men live on in the Albuquerque Museum. Thank you for joining us for Picture This from the Albuquerque Museum. Join us next time for the story behind another photograph in the museum's collection.